Hello book lovers and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Perkins and today I'm talking to author A.R. Hetherington. A.R. Hetherington, a part-time teacher, writes fantasy fiction for the junior and middle grade age range. Her action-packed series has had wonderful feedback from girls and boys, teachers, parents and grandparents. If you love time travel, fantastic creatures, quests, fearless friendships, magic and mystery, then this is the author for you. Hi Annalisa, first of all welcome and thank you for coming on Book Talk Radio Club.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to chat about my books.
Underground Adventure, Below the Green Book 1. Would you like to give Book Talk Radio Club's listeners a brief synopsis of the book?
Yes, definitely. Well, it's a portal adventure. So two friends stumble across an old trapdoor which leads to a whole new world below ground. They meet children who live there and get swept up in a magical and adventurous quest, quite perilous at times too. And they travel to new realms and meet all sorts of creatures. And ultimate goal is to rescue a couple of friends from the clutches of some evil foes and make it back to the earthly realm in time for a special ceremony.
So we have two friends, Maggie and James. Tell me about them.
Well, they are two just ordinary children, much like you might find in any school or local community. I did deliberately cast Maggie as a fairly strong character, as it was important to me to feature good, strong roles for the girls in my books as well as for the boys. And James is a bit of an anti-hero type, a little bit bookish and a few quirky character traits, but ultimately they all have key parts to play in the team.
Are they based on any of your students or an amalgam of them?
Yes, it is true that some of my pupils' traits and characteristics do come to mind at times. I couldn't possibly say who, of course, but you never know, some might be guessing.
They might recognise themselves.
Yeah, I'd be in all sorts of trouble. But I would say it's more of a combination type thing than just one or two. I borrow traits from my nephew and niece and my own children. Mm-hmm. They are all grown up now, but my daughter and niece are, they're part of the modern generation of young women who speak up and have their voice heard, stand up for their values. They're kind of have-a-go type of girls. So my female characters were always going to be fairly active and strong.
Who are the earthly children? That's earthly, E-A-R-T-H-L-I-E children.
Yeah, well, the earthly children, these are the people or the community who live underground in this world that I call the earthly realm, and who Maggie and James meet straight away and make friends with, and then they form a bit of a team together on their adventures.
Ah, right. At the age of 8, the earthly children's true scholar nature is revealed, and they join one of the schools to help develop their skills and attributes. What is this scholar nature?
So, well, in this underground world, each person, each character is gifted with particular skills and traits, and these are gradually revealed throughout the book. And then they go on to train in one of the various schools. For example, they might train with the School of Nature and Nurture, or the Defenders, or School of Magic, or School of Noble Beasts, so all of these sorts of things. And ultimately they, of course, use these skills on their quests and adventures.
What imagination you have. The children learn their friends have been caught by the Snatcher. Who is the Snatcher and why does he catch the two earthly children? Without giving too much away, of course.
Yes, well, the true identity of the Snatcher is not fully revealed until book 3. However, he is one of the main kind of big baddie, evil characters who the children come up against. He's quite a sinister character, and his role is to steal the young earthly children, and then he takes them to another darker realm called the Grimm's Realm. And there's some horrible ogres who live there, and he sells them to the ogres who keep them as kind of pets and slaves.
It never fails to amaze me how authors, in particular authors that write in the fantasy genre, come up with such wonderful names for the baddies. Apart from the Snatcher, what other baddies are there in the Underground Adventure?
Oh, well, thank you. Well, the Grimms I've mentioned as well. And then there are also the Wild Bandits who feature in book 1. And they're a bunch of lawless women who also live in the Grimm's realm, and the children have quite a dramatic run-in with them too. So the main characters, both good and bad, do feature in subsequent books with a few new ones entering in along the way too.
You have some wonderful reviews for Underground Adventure. I mean, I love this one. This is from a 10-year-old girl. She says, I really enjoyed reading Underground Adventure. It was very original. I have not read anything like it before. I like the idea of having a whole world underground. And also from someone else, this book was a great read. It was jam-packed with magic, adventures and funny characters. Really good reviews.
So lovely. I'm really happy to have these lovely reviews. I mean, they do mean a lot to me. And I keep all the handwritten ones that I get from children from different schools.
Oh, that's nice.
They are lovely. And to be honest, when I first started writing, I tested out my books on some of my ex-pupils. And, you know, children are very honest, very direct. So I was really quite nervous. But I knew that I would soon know either way if I was onto something or not. So, yes, I am really delighted with the wonderful responses I've had.
We'll cover the next 2 books in this series in greater depth in forthcoming interviews. But can you give listeners a bit of an idea of what happens in Book 2, which is called Scholars to the Rescue?
Sure. Well, Maggie and James are back in the earthly realm. And soon, as you can imagine, in the thick of a new adventure, lots of twists and turns, and some favourite characters return, and they come up against the Snatcher again and ultimately vow to rid the realms of him once and for all.
And what about Book 3, Battle for the Enchanted Ring?
So it's in the 3rd book that the big plan to face down the Snatcher is revealed, but I don't really want to give any spoilers. It is one of my favourites, actually, that one.
Was there a particular book or an author that inspired you to start writing?
Not one in particular. I read a lot as a child. We lived in West Africa when I was little, so reading was one of my main things.
Okay.
And I always have a book on the go. But I think all of the great books we read, or films or art, I think they all become part of us and feed our imagination and creativity. So
very much so.
Yeah, I just have tons of books and authors I love.
You and me both. You teach part-time and visit schools to lead courses in creative writing. What does that involve?
Well, it is really fun, actually. As you can imagine, it varies depending on what the school wants. Sometimes they want children to just have that experience of kind of personally meeting an author and asking questions about the writing process and encouraging them to write. Other times I might lead specific literacy lessons, perhaps helping children to write character descriptions or creating their own versions of underground worlds, or think about where they might travel through portals. And then, of course, I try and give them lots of tips on how to get going and possible sources of inspiration. And it does create a real buzz around reading and writing in school, so I think it's quite valuable. I had one school just recently, and this was the first. They came on a field trip to my village, to the actual green, and I met them there, and they'd even made a kind of trapdoor so they could position it and imagine where the trapdoor would be.
Oh, lovely.
So, I know, it's so cute. They met me, they met my dogs. I made them some biscuits that are called Moors that feature in the book. So yeah, all sorts of things. It's a lot of fun.
What advice would you give to a new author, particularly a children's author?
Well, have a go. Why not?
Quite.
If I can do it, anyone can, honestly. But there is so much help and advice out there. But I think you do just find your own way. I mean, a bit of advice that stuck in my mind when I started was from Floella Benjamin. And her advice was to finish what you start. And until you do that, well, once you've done that, then you've got something that you can edit and, refine and so on. And I think be kind to yourself. It is a process. And there's a big and really generous writing community out there. So lots of groups online that will offer support and encouragement and advice. So, yeah, just have a go.
I think a lot of would-be authors are frightened to write the first word, the first page, the whole paragraph or whatever, because they feel that how do they get started and what happens if it doesn't work? I mean, I've always said just write, like you, just write. It doesn't matter what it looks like to begin with, just start writing.
Well, that's the thing, because no one else is going to see it until you're prepared to share it, type of thing.
Exactly.
So there's no harm in just getting going.
Exactly. So what's next on the writing front for A.R. Hetherington?
Well, I've got lots of exciting things on the go. Book 4 has been written, and that's in the editing stage.
Okay.
And book 5, which will bring the first series to a close, that's 3/4 of the way through. So I have had an idea for a second series with the same characters, so it may well continue. But other than that, the second book is just out literally this week in audio format.
Fantastic.
I've got the wonderful actress and voice artist Karen Asco, who reads my books, and she's so good. She's currently touring in the UK with The Grinch for Christmas, but she's actually going to be starting then book 3 for me in the new year. So that's really lovely.
Why did you decide to go down the audiobook route?
It's quite a big area of growth, the audiobook market, and I also know that a lot of kids that I meet in my school as well, they really enjoy audiobooks, car journeys, bedtimes, that sort of thing. And I think it can make a nice accompaniment for children who are reading, early and developing readers, to accompany the material by having it read out loud at the same time.
I love listening to audiobooks. I've been listening on iPod since iPods came out, and I find it brilliant because I can be doing all different kinds of things. Housework, yes, I do it once in a while. I'm taking the dog for a walk, and I have listened to a book, and I get totally lost in the book I'm listening to. I love audiobooks. I think it's a great idea. I really do. So where can readers purchase your Below the Green books?
My books are all available on Amazon, and apart from that, you can find out more about me at arhetherington.com. And the last thing I'd probably just mention is that I'm working with a fabulous illustrator now, Corinne Webb. She's based in Wales. And so hopefully the next exciting thing in 2020 will be to launch the kind of fully illustrated version of the books.
Oh, wonderful.
So, exciting times ahead.
And very much so. All right, well, thank you, Annalisa. That was great. Please come back on Book Talk Radio. I'd love to chat with you and hear more. In the meantime, good luck for the future. And thank you, everyone, for listening to Book Talk Radio. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.